Good morning. I have a question for you. Excuse me. Wow. Have a question. Who are you? That's not a loaded question. I want you to contemplate that for just a moment. Because you see, there is a thought in our head of who we believe we are. And it's that thought which permeates so much of our lives. In fact, you may be meant for something greater than what you envision yourself right now, and that you're kind of holding yourself back with old thoughts. I was challenged in this area. You may have heard the term imposter syndrome. It's something that I have dealt with throughout a lot of my career. But I was reading this book last night, and I'm going to show you, from my friend Cicely Simpson, called Pull Up Your Chair. And the C in chair stands for championing yourself. It's talking about being your biggest advocate, your biggest cheerleader, your biggest coach, your biggest whatever, to get you to the place where you want to go. And I was thinking about that concept of the imposter syndrome, the thing that holds us back, the feeling like we're not worthy, or we're not there yet, or we're somehow less than, and how those things hold us back, how those things keep us from fully embracing that which we were meant to be. I think in terms of some of the things in my past, and I'm going to share with you just for a moment, because I think this will speak to some of you who watch this on a regular basis, and that is this. I can't tell you how many times I have given a talk or a speech in front of a group. It could be a keynote, it could be a commencement, it could be a social club, and they tell me how good it is in the immediate following, right? It kind of makes you feel good about it. Oh, this was so good. You spoke exactly what we needed to hear. But then you're never invited back. Now, on their side of the equation, there may be a whole laundry list of reasons, including other people, different voices, you don't live there anymore, all of these things. But on my side of the equation, it just adds to the imposter syndrome. I've been on multiple podcasts. I've hosted multiple podcasts, and over the years, the lack of traction in those podcasts added to the imposter syndrome in my life. So when I read the part of this book about championing yourself, I started thinking about, well, wait a minute. Maybe it's not that I'm not supposed to be doing these things. Maybe it is simply because I am not fully embracing who God created me to be. You see, if you're a believer, you know that the Bible says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. My friend Chad Free says it like this: we were created on purpose for a purpose. And when we begin to realize that there is a purpose ahead of us that is far greater than what we are now, it may just help jumpstart you out of your imposter syndrome. Step one, to help move you from who you think you are to who you're meant to be, is number one, we've got to shed off that old thinking. We've got to figure out a way to not fall into the trap, fall into the habit of claiming things that are just simply not true. Here's a perfect one. I've always been a big guy. That was one of mine. At 320 pounds, that was my justification for not being healthy. Well, I've always been a big guy. I've always been, Big Dave or whatever. And the truth of the matter was, no, that's not who I've always been. But that was the identity that I had built for myself. And until I found myself worthy to be a smaller Dave, I was always going to hold on to the identity of the bigger Dave. I've said things like, I'm a newspaper guy. Well, let's look around. The future of newspapers is uncertain at best and dire at worst. And if I am a newspaper guy, am I dying off like the newspaper? Or am I a guy who is talented in writing, talented in observation, talented in business? You see what I'm saying? All of a sudden, my identity is not in this one thing, but it is in the skills that I have built over a lifetime. If we are made in the image of our Creator, Now think about that just a second. Made in the image of the Creator. What does a creator do? You're right. He creates. So if we're made in that image, shouldn't we be able to, and aren't we called to create? Create a better place, create a better future, create a better world. But as long as we hold ourselves back with the idea that we're not worthy or we're not skilled enough or we're not able because of this imposter syndrome, we are literally holding ourselves back from the very reason we were created, and that is to create. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a quote-unquote creative type. I'm not talking about jumping on and doing graphic design or creating the next Mona Lisa, but you are definitely created to create life. Your life, improving the life of those around you. You are definitely created to be better. So I want to ask you, what's holding you back? What are your thoughts about yourself? I started this live today asking you the question, who are you? Has that thought changed yet? Has that thought moved from a place of I'm not enough to I have so much potential? And potential is merely stored energy waiting to be released. Stored ability, action, things, creativity. You've got to release that potential. You've got to put down those thoughts that are holding you back. You've got to begin to see yourself as the person you could be. Now, getting from there to there, that's the start. But there's going to be steps along the way. You're going to have to skill up. That means if you're wanting to be healthy, you're going to have to get the skills, the structure, the coaching to get you there. If you're going to want to be better in business, you're going to have to embrace things like personal development, business development. You may have to even go to college. If you're wanting to be a better human, you may just have to get some therapy to shed off some of those thoughts, those things of less than that are holding you back, those traumas in your past that are making you who you are, and you need to embrace that part, but then try to shed off the things that really are keeping you from stepping in. It's not going to be easy, but at the same time, I know that you're worth it, that you're worth it, that I'm worth it, that this world needs us to show up as the very best version of ourselves. Mind, body, spirit, relationships, all of us being the very best version of who we were created to be. So I'm just asking you this. What is it going to take for you to start? What is it going to take for you to start? If it's in an area of health and you need help, obviously I'm here to help, specthealth.com. But if it's other areas, seek out those areas in which you can improve. But it all starts with up here. You are worthy. Look at me. You are worthy. So become the person that God created you to be. Shed off your limiting beliefs. Shed off those thoughts shed off the imposter syndrome. You will be glad you did. And we'll be glad you did, because the world that we leave behind will be better than the world we're in right now. God bless.